Let's talk quarterbacks, Falcons fans. Two today, specifically. One being your glorious QB1, Michael Penix Jr., and a former NFL legend, Kurt Warner, who send some cautions about Michael Penix Jr. Now, I'm not here to say that a former NFL quarterback is wrong, especially one who has the prestige of a guy like Kurt Warner. However, something tells me, based off of the analysis that I've done, Kurt might not be watching all of the tape. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. On today's episode, let's break down what Kurt Warner said about MPJ and why I believe he might not be entirely correct about him. Before we do that, I need you to do me a big favor. That sub button is completely free. We've only got 271 subs in the month of October. Now, we do look at this and say we had a bye week, so there was no game for us to, push our metrics for. However, our goal before Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills is 42,000 subscribers. So, if you could, help me get past 41.5 on today's video. Hit that sub button if you want free, engaging, and entertaining Atlanta Falcons content. Let's talk about Kurt Warner and what happened when he broke down the Michael Penix Jr. tape. You're going to see me use these a lot today. So Kurt Warner appeared on the Rich Eisen show, and he talked about three quarterbacks and kind of did his homework on those three and talked about what he saw from them so far in 2025. Those three quarterbacks, were C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, and Michael Penix Jr. And the one thing that if you had to take away a blanket statement, if you didn't want to go and watch what he said, he called Michael Penix Jr. inconsistent. Here is the exact transcript from what he said, because it was a Zoom interview. I just happened to do my, due diligence as a transcriber. They've got a very simple offense. They run a lot of choice routes, which is basically the opportunity for a wide receiver to stick on one route or go another one, being AKA a choice, on every single week, and run the exact same concepts over and over again. Keep in mind, we're going to talk about that here in a second. When those things are open, talking about the receivers, it looks pretty good. When they aren't, it doesn't look good. I've got to see more evolution from Michael Penix Jr. and this offense beyond his first read. All right, let's take a timeout, because there was a lot in there that just sounded like a whole lot of blanket statements. Essentially, what Kurt Warner is saying is that the Falcons' offense under Michael Penix Jr. has become kind of predictable, running the exact same routes over and over again. But I'll say timeout, because the problem that you're talking about is literally in your answer. And if you're already doing some foreshadowing, you might be thinking, great, Moose is about to tirade on Zach Robinson again. No. That's not what I'm doing on today's episode. I've done enough Zach Robinson bashing, and until he proves to me again that he's incapable of calling this offense, I'm going to refrain from digging on my offensive coordinator. I think there's an opportunity for him to turn the season around. So let's talk about the Penix problems that Kurt Warner is talking about. The first one being that Michael Penix Jr. lacks consistency. Well, I'm going to disagree with that, because Penix has an on-target throw percentage this year of 75.2%. I don't know about you, but consistency, at least to me, means a higher bit of completion percentage. Well, Michael Penix Jr. is throwing 75% of his throws on target, meaning a receiver could drop a ball here and there. They could run the wrong route. It could be a bang-bang play where a defender just makes a great read. It doesn't matter what the reason is, but 3 out of 4 of your throws are on time and on target. Now, where does that rank from last year in his first 3 starts? Right? Because you have to go back and do a comparison. Side by side, MPJ from 2024 and MPJ from 2025. His on-target throw percentage in 2025 is higher. The drops are down, so at least that's good. His on-target throws are way above what he's got. He's got 91 on-target throws to the 69 he had in 2024. He's got only 19 passing attempts on play action. And if you know anything about play action, that is literally a designed, easy scheme to throw on time and on target. Well, they don't run play action. We'll talk about that as well. And he's also been blitzed more. So under pressure, on-target throws with less drops and more on-target throws in general, it looks more consistent to me Does it not? Now, people might sit here and think that I'm glazing Michael Penix Jr. That's not what I'm doing. It hasn't been perfect, by far. But if I were to go back to Zach Robinson for just a second, just a hypothetical question for you Falcons fans. If you're running the exact same concepts as Kurt Warner said he watched the film on, could it be, just maybe, that the play calling is just a little bit too predictable? That's all I'm going to ask right there. That's all I'm going to ask. I believe it is too predictable. And I also think that Penix has a couple of problem areas right now. The first one being that he overthrows wide receivers. The second one being he double clutches too many times. There's a lot of different areas that Michael Penix Jr. has to clean up his game. I'm not going to sit here and play ultimate Falcons fan and say, Michael Penix Jr. is perfect and everybody else is at fault. No. There is a happy medium, a gray area between the two. So if I were to ask you what Penix's biggest problem is right now, what would you say? Mine is probably the overthrows. That's probably my biggest area right now. But obviously, you let me know in the comment section down below. Let's go to the second Penix problem. He's a one-read quarterback. Well, I also can disprove this based off of the amount of targets that he's had from other players and also some other statistics that you might find very interesting. Now, before I do that, I have to tell you about my friends over at Factor. Listen, fall is definitely the time to get back into the swing of things. You know, the kids are back at school. You've got busier routines and shorter days. So finding time to cook can be very, very tough. And that's why I personally love Factor meals. They're chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious no matter how hectic the season gets. You can also support your wellness goals with Factor, enjoying even more GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good-for-you fats. You can savor all of those global flavors. And for the very first time, try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China. Eat smart at factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 off and use code FalconsChat50 off to get 50% off your first box. Plus, this is cool, free breakfast for 1 year. That's code FalconsChat50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. So before we talk about those statistics, I do want to bring up very briefly Michael Penix Jr.'s 2025 passing chart. Now, producer Andrew on the ones and twos, could you do me a favor and bring this specific photo up full screen? I'd really like to do a little more of a deep dive analysis here because this could be tough to see. But what you're looking at right now is the breakdown of throws from Michael Penix Jr. at the top left, deep middle, deep right, and then that kind of intermediate passing right above that first down line. There you go. Look, it looks beautiful. And that blue line that you're seeing is that line of scrimmage. Now take a look really quick. You're noticing between the line of scrimmage and that 10-yard marker, that's where the majority of his throws look. So you could look at that and say, well, there's your one-read quarterback right there. I'm not going to say yes to that because you're starting to see the ball get spread out a little bit more, especially downfield, which is one thing. But also, a very important statistic that I think we're overlooking is that Bijan Robinson, your running back, has 23 targets in 4 games. Now, I'm not an offensive coordinator. Neither are you. But if we were to just take a guess, how many of those 23 targets do you think are schemed plays to Bijan Robinson? I'm going to say very few of those. In fact, most of those are checkdowns. And what is a checkdown? An ultimate indicator of going through your progressions, aka your reads, and then dumping it off when you don't find anyone open. So believe it or not, the check down is not at all an indicator of just, I'm afraid to make the throw. It's going through your progressions, keeping your eyes downfield, and then not finding anybody open, so then you just dump it off. And then one more thing. Another question for you. Not something that you have to answer. Just keep it in the back of your mind. What is the ultimate scheme call? The answer is play action. Think about it. When you design a play action play, you are rolling out to a specific side, whether that be a naked bootleg or just a regular play action call, and you are scheming up a player to go from, usually a tight end, from that blocking position and rolling out. That's the ultimate schemed play. That is your one read throw. And the Falcons, as we've talked about multiple times on this show, only use play action 9.5% of plays. That's dead last, or at least it was, or second to last in the NFL entering week 5. Obviously, they didn't play because of the bye week. So if I'm looking at it and I'm saying Michael Penix Jr.'s one read is mostly on a play action call or a designed play to a guy like Drake London, I think he's the opposite of a one-read player. I think he's actually going through his progressions and taking what the defense gives him. That's never been my question about Michael Penix Jr., is his ability to read the defenses, because he absolutely can. Let's find our final Penix problem. Kurt Warner said that he can't throw the deep ball. This one actually has a lot more validity to it than the other two. I'm not going to say it's completely right, but I'm not going to say it's completely wrong, because if you look at the advanced analytics chart for Michael Penix deep ball completion, it's really bad. 9.1%, which is number 34 in the NFL. And granted, there's only 32 starting quarterbacks. So you could look at this one of two ways. You can say Michael Penix Jr.'s deep ball isn't nearly as good as advertised, or you can look at it and say they've only recently started scheming the ball throwing downfield for Michael Penix Jr. And that's a Zach Robinson thing. And like I said, I'll admit, it's only really looked good recently because we haven't seen it in the entirety of the 2025 season until the game against the Commanders, where Michael Penix Jr., throwing past the sticks, meaning more than 10-plus yards, had a 60% adjusted completion percentage, 110 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and a passer rating of 131.3. When you open up the playbook for MP9, good things happen. And the final stat that will just blow your mind. Penix has the fewest amount of 20-yard passing attempts, 20-plus yard passing attempts in the NFL. He's got 7. And we're not talking about a catch at 10 yards and then a run for another 15 to make it 25. We're talking about air yards thrown. He has the fewest amount of 20-plus air yard passing attempts in the NFL. That is ridiculously bad for a player who is touted as having a great deep ball. Because when he came out of Washington, after transferring from Indiana, the 3 major takeaways from NFL.com and NFL scouts were these 3. He can flick his wrist like Michael Vick and send the ball 50-plus yards down the field. He's a fearless attacker on sideline throws, something that Jalen Hurts has done very, very well in his NFL career. And his excellent ball control, meaning if you combine all 3 of those things, Penix should be one of the quarterbacks in the NFL that is stretching the field more often than other players. Have you seen Caleb Williams throw a deep ball? It is pathetic. He's awful at it. So you got to scheme the deep throws in order to have more deep throws, in order to connect on more deep throws. It's all a snowball trickle down effect. Come on, this is not rocket science. We're talking football here. At some point, this game is hard, but it's not that hard. Which is why I still believe that even though all of these talking heads in the media are going to say some stuff about Michael Penix Jr.'s accuracy and his inconsistency, I still think the best is yet to come. Because I think with Zach Robinson now moving down to the field, better communication with his wide receivers, and overall just a better continuity on offense, Michael Penix Jr. will start to show you the production and the games that he's putting up like he did against the Washington Commanders. And that's all I got for you today. It's going to be it. I believe in MP9, so if you do too, like the video. It shows me that you are a fan of the channel, you support what we're doing, and you support QB1. Falcons fans, I'm going to be back later today with more Falcons news and rumors coming your way. Until then, rise up and be cool.